Assalamu alaikum. Why do our graduates want to leave the country? Why is it so that the brightest and the smartest of our graduates would like to leave the country the moment they graduate? Why is it so that the more elite the school, the more prestigious the university, faster the exodus of its graduates? Why is it that our graduates would like to work for a multinational but would not like to accept the challenge of joining a local company and bring it up to the level or maybe even better than a multinational? I believe that there is this doom and gloom narrative that has been sold to our students. It permeates the entire environment and fabric of our life here in this country. This doom and gloom narrative says that we are going from bad to worse, there is nothing good happening around, and the only way to make your career is to just escape and fly off. When I was growing up in my 1960s and 70s in my school, I listened to that. As a young boy, I would listen to the talk of the elders bemoaning the plight of our government sliding down after nationalization. How the schools were being taken over by nepotism and corruption. How corruption was spreading everywhere. How hospitals were not performing and were being made to go from bad to worse. The transportation system going, was being taken away by the private mafias. The environment was sliding, the waters in our rivers was going away. And then we got engulfed in this cycle of violence. And of course, the economy is going down, and there doesn't seem to be any hope. Actually, Pakistan is about to disintegrate. And that was the narrative with which I entered into my engineering. And it's no wonder that all our students, while they are at school, while at university, in their homes, at private gatherings, at funerals, at marriage ceremonies, in conference, everywhere where a few people would gather, they'll start talking about what is wrong with this country and what is wrong with us. And it is no wonder that the moment they graduate, they try to fly off to the place where they think everything is hunky dory. I believe, and so did I also. When I was in my third year of engineering, I started applying for scholarships. I couldn't afford on my own to go over there. So I was looking for scholarships. Eventually, I got that scholarship when I completed my MBA, and I was there to that dream world of USA, and I was there for 7 years. Eventually, I had to return because of family commitments. But once I returned, everyone was asking, why did I do that? Why did I leave that great opportunity to come back? And I must tell you that having returned over here, I found that all this doom and gloom doesn't exist. I felt myself wanted everywhere where I was. Of course, it took me a lot of time and hard work to make a place for myself. But I think the recognition and the acceptance of what you are trying to do is available over here also. And as I entered into academic administration about 24, 25 years ago, I realized that all my efforts on trying to inspire the students to do hard work and to engage in the pursuit of excellence, that is not making much impact. So what was happening? And I realized that we as the university administrators have a lot to contribute. We are not giving them a vision or the challenge to take this situation and change the narrative. It was here that I think that a situation arose about 10, 15 years ago. I was sitting around a table with 5 other top decision makers of universities. And like all discussions, the discussion came down to a stage where again, everyone was saying about what is wrong with our country. And at that time, I could take it no longer. And I said that of all the people in Pakistan, at least we 5 who are at the top decision making stage of the universities cannot complain about this, about this situation. We have around this table at least 20,000 students who spend from 2 years to 5 years with us. We can introduce any course we like. We can create any curriculum that we like. We can hire any teacher we can like. We can introduce any methodology that we can like. And if out of these 20,000 students we cannot generate a few hundreds of the change agents, then the blame should be squarely upon us. And it was this motivation that made me think about what I should be doing. The first thing I realized is that there are about 500,000 graduates coming out from the universities. And most of them are being taught through books that have been written in foreign lands. Most of them are using the methodology that was designed for some consumption somewhere else. There was no connection with the real life problems of Pakistan. Of all these graduates, have they ever done a course which tells them how to tackle corruption? No. How to tackle this decline in the organizations and their working? No. And no wonder that they do not have that confidence when they graduate. When they graduate, they are like fish out of the water, who wants to go back to where the water is, because that was the water that they have become accustomed to. So how do we change this narrative? I think what we needed to do was to impact the heart and minds of the students. And how do we do it? We can do it by connecting the curriculum with the real life problems. And we need to instill in them that confidence that yes, you can do it. To do this, I had to identify an intervention which I can introduce in the university. And this intervention must use existing resources and processes. We didn't want to disrupt the entire working of the university. We wanted to introduce this intervention from within the framework in which a university works. We should be able to start small and grow big. It should be, the intervention should be scalable. From one class, it should be scalable to the entire institution. It should be self-sustainable. We should not be asking for money from the university or from some other authorities. It should be completable within a semester. And it must be measurable, concrete, and visible to everyone. And of course, it requires some committed teachers. So what I'm going to describe, the things that I have done, I'm not done it again. It is through some dedicated teachers that I found. And I must like to mention Mr. Umar Javed and Mr. Nauman Mahmood, who have been part of the design of these interventions. So what was that intervention? So it was a typical project would be a class of 40 with a committed teacher over there. The students were divided into groups, at least 5 students to a group, and each group was assigned a poor family for which the group had to go and do a need analysis and needs to get some donations from their family members. Maybe family members, maybe friends, maybe philanthropic people around them. So they needed to find the analysis, design an intervention, and then go out and be able to sell that to the people who will give the donation. And each group managed to generate from anywhere from $100 to $500, which comes in PKR 10,000 rupees to around 50,000 rupees, which was enough for the type of intervention that we were discussing. And we were discussing an intervention of enabling that poor family to start a micro business so that it can be self-sustainable financially. The type of businesses that were set up ranged across, there's a whole range of businesses that the students came up with. It was like repairing if this rickshaw wala is unable to work because of the mechanical problems with his rickshaw, then repairing it and probably helping them to start a stall with small barber shop or jewelry shop or a cobbler shop, or it was like giving them training of being electrician or a plumber or something. And for some poor families, we made stalls and fruit stalls and vegetable stalls, and some old women were also given, or women who could not go out and work, sewing machines. And then since 2010, if you can see, we had made across various sections at various universities. There was a previous university where I was, and at the current university where I am, we started this program a couple of years ago, and before that it was running at another university. And since then we have been able to help more than 500 families. And the students have managed to collect over 7 million rupees. And they have impacted these 500 plus families. So there were 500 groups working with 500 families and making some change in their lives. So before I talk about the phase 2, I will say that what were the results of all of these projects? The results that we saw impacted various parts of their behavior. The first thing was that they grew in confidence. Their body language changed, and their body language changed, and they got that feeling that yes, we can change. And they also developed empathy of looking at those poor families and learning for the first time in their lives how people in poor communities actually survive with such meager amounts. And for them, that small amount that they donated could actually make a difference between earning a halal livelihood or not. And from there, we moved to the phase 2. In phase 2, we said, okay, now that we can do it in one course, let's try to expand it to other courses. So we started experiential learning projects and across various other courses, and we tried to spread them in various courses. And then we designed another innovative program, which was a full 4-year program, 8 semesters, 8 projects, and 8 problems that that program focused upon. And these projects again related to the various problems that we have mentioned earlier. And based upon this, based upon this, when we saw the impact that the students are creating, I think we can now scale up this entire process of making these course-based interventions at the university. Right now, we have over 180 universities. There are 1.4 million higher education students. And if we scale this intervention to only 4 courses in a program, we will have at least 100,000 projects running every year with 500,000 families getting impacted through 500,000 students. And this is possible. And I can see that in future we will be able to use this drop, 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 change through a course, drop, 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 changing into a trickle. And this trickle changing into a river. And from that river, it can become a torrent. And that torrent will be able to overcome this doom and gloom narrative which engulfs our entire environment. And we can sweep away this narrative with the narrative of hope and with the narrative of promise. Thank you very much.